Yes, I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of the Girl the Podcast Show, baby. And you know what that sound means. Boom, boom, boom. Yes, I've been strolling and trolling through the world of media and madness. And have you enjoyed your madness? Have you enjoyed your long break from hearing my illustrious voice? But hey, I hadn't been absent. If you checking out my music, if you have heard my music, I've been dropping it like it's hot. But hey, I'm back with the podcast show. And you want to say, why he back now? Why he back now, mama? He back because when I was able to do my strolling and trolling. And when I strolled and trolled, everything is not about the war. So I'm just going to give you what you missed on my thoughts about the war. I mean, it was amazing when we went to war like real fat, not we. I'm sorry. They made it, I was programmed to think it was we, probably just like you. And it was like, oh man, so much going on in this world. Like how we going to survive? But hey, I'm going to jump right off into this thing, and it's going to start off with the Ukraine war that has now been changed into a conflict. So did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy every scene that they were showing? Did you enjoy the movie production side of the war? Because I can tell you that it is sad to see people lose their lives over nothing. It is sad to see people lose their lives over things that I've told you about here on the Grill the Podcast Show. But the thing that saved Americans and America is, I'm sorry, how have you guys been doing? I hope you've been blessed. So I'll continue. The things that have saved America is, they talked about gas. And of course, I told you on the show, previous episodes that the gas prices were slated to go above $5 when Joe Biden got into office. That almost happened. But what saved the American people were saved by their own inactions, because we didn't run to the pump. We didn't run out there filling our cars up like we were crazy, because if we had have done that, that would have created a shortage, which would have created a greater demand, which would have inflated prices way further than they were. I think it's still at 409, 406, but the national average is high. Out in West Covina on the West Coast, they're paying more, but that's always been the place because they're green. It's a green state, so using gas out there, kind of getting penalized for it. But we didn't reach the $5 gas mark, and I'll tell you why. Because they never use that word. You know what the word is. Every time I talk about it, then they turn around and use it. It's called shortage. They did not say there was a shortage of gas or shortage of crude oil, just like they did when they said there's a shortage of COVID tests. When they use the word shortage in anything, we go crazy and we go buying up, we go storing stuff. So that didn't happen this time. So thankfully, we thought ahead. But you just keep in mind, I just saw something today that they supposedly bombed a Russian oil plant or something like that. But let me give you something again. We do not get our crude oil or our petroleum from Russia. It comes straight from down south off the coast of Louisiana. If you remember the BP oil spill when we had to pay high gas prices, they had an explosion at one of the fueling plants down there. Those things, that's where our fuel comes from, petroleum. It is piped. Do not believe. Don't get all into it. But you can get into it if you want to. I'm just going to tell you the facts. That's not what's going on. Of course, the media wants you to think that. You know the mainstream media. You know how they do it. They're going to do what they do. But yeah, so if you've watched anything or you watched the news, I mean, it was almost there, but we saved ourselves. So I'm going to move on to my small segment. This is going to run on. I'm not just going to welcome myself back with an hour-long episode. I'm not going to do that. But now, like I said, it's been now downgraded to a conflict, which means there's some negotiation. I did see that. Even I strolled and trolled, but it was just too much. Kanye was everywhere, but then I'm gonna talk about the other stuff that's everywhere now. So basically, it's been downgraded to a conflict because there are peace talks. I did see that. Now, if you think about some weeks ago, I mean, if you watched any news outlet, they were really, when I say the production side of this, these cameramen were right all over in there. They was like, let me get that shot of that building blowing up. They were finding cars burned up and they're walking around and they're pointing at this building. Now, when I really pulled away from it, when the Ukraine, I saw this video report, and they literally showed a missile going into a building, exploding. Now, and I think I said this before I went off the air, if you watched any movie that has been a production, Bad Boys, and I'm gonna talk about Will Smith just briefly. If you watched anything, they don't blow up these buildings for real. But what I saw was supposedly a missile go into a building that was already hit by a missile, blow up, and they're not even 200 feet away from that building. The cameraman or the camera isn't. That camera did not receive any blast radius. If you know, I'm not going to get into the blast radius of any of the artillery that's used in the military, by the military, but if you know anything about bombs, missiles, you've seen it in movies, you've seen it on, just historically in documentaries about the war, the blast radius, that blowback from that implosion or explosion will move cameras, will move people. This thing didn't move. So that got me kind of thinking, and I'm like, what's going on here? There's got to be something going on, because that didn't make sense. Y'all literally, you're not over 200 feet away from that missile supposedly blowing up this building, and nothing happened. So I do think, and of course I saw some other stuff that kind of supported that thought, that there was a little bit of producing going on by some of those news media outlets. I think just there was some of the pictures that and I did see this, and you probably heard about it too. Some of the pictures and the video that was coming back to us wasn't necessarily of the war. It was images of war. It wasn't of the war. It was images of war, which is the same thing. It was buildings that have already been attacked, cities that have already been evacuated, and they just went in and started producing stuff. That's just my take on it. I saw a picture going around TikTok. Two guys in the trenches. They had on these coats. They were made to look as if they were Russian invaders. But I think this whole conflict was a conflict now. The war has proven that we as a world, we are off base, because nobody knows what this is about. Russia wants this. Ukraine is not asking for anything. Russia just wants their control back over Ukraine for whatever reason. Well, it's an export thing. It's about money. It's about what's there. It's about the goods. I did go over that before, so go back and check out some previous episodes when I was talking about the war, because I'm gonna keep moving on this thing. But as far as the production of war, the images of war, after that journalist was unfortunately killed, that's when everything changed. And if you paid attention to it, that's when it changed. That's when the whole dynamics of what is going on in the Ukraine over in Russia, the images changed, and they stopped. Some media outlets, they don't have reporters on the ground. Everything changed, because if you are producing images of war and you get caught up in a real war situation where there's a real missile headed your way, people lose their lives. So like I said, and it's a conflict now. That's all I got about the war. But we did our best. We avoided the high gas prices. But who knows? Just pay attention. It may come back up and sneak back up on us. So I'm gonna move right off into this other war, and I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna say something no one has said, because it's been about a week that this has happened. Of course, if you watched anything, unless you've been under a rock, hey, how did rock feel? I got my blanket. This is the coziest rock I've ever lived under. So unless you've been living up on a rock and I still been out there strolling and trolling, hey, Will Smith smacked the taste out of Chris Rock. Well, he didn't do that. Anyway, so let me get to my opinion with my opinionated ass. Let me say this. If you're a fan of wrestling, if you like wrestling, and a lot of men do, if you're a dude, listen to this, and women do too. If you like great dramas and the movies, that slap resembled a WWE slap, where it was well orchestrated, and if you watch it, Chris Rock pulled away enough to avoid the full impact of the slap. Watch the WWE. Vince McMahon has great productions on wrestling, and that smack, women do it every day on men do it too. Who had the great Ric Flair had one of those smacks. It looks like it's hard, but then there's some science in the movement behind wrestling where they actually avoid a lot of the impact. Now, I'm going to say this. That's my take. It looked a little orchestrated, or it looked a little produced. Now, I think, and this is only my theory, so if you hear this again, you heard it first on the Grill the Podcast Show. I think Will and Chris Rock, because Chris Rock stopped the police from locking him up. You probably know all of that. I think they orchestrated that. I think Will Smith had that planned just in case he did not win the award that he won. I don't even care what it is no more. I think it was well orchestrated because this was going to go down as a memorable Oscars. That's what I think. I think Chris Rock and Will Smith planned this to happen, and it was like, hey, if I don't win, they still gonna be talking about me. I'm gonna make a donkey of myself. I'm gonna make them remember like I'm tired of this, and it would have been a whole nother narrative. That's my opinion. Because if you look at the slap and you think about what I just told you, it looks a little orchestrated. Now, if it's orchestrated, if they sat down and said, let's come up with this, tell the joke, because look at the whole thing. He is getting prepared for Will Smith to come and do something to him. Of course, I don't think the Oscars were in on it. I don't even think Jada was in on it. I think this was something that Will Smith is a smart guy. And I think it was something that, this is just my opinion now, it may not be true, it may be true, I don't care. But my opinion, based off of what I saw and just thinking outside of the box, this was a good way to tell the Academy, screw you, you have screwed me over enough. I'm going to do something that's going to I'm going to shake up the world. He did his Muhammad Ali, because watch the slap. Watch him walk up there. Chris Rock had every chance to say, whoa, man, whoa, whoa, man, whoa. Because that's what we do. We say, whoa, man, whoa, stop. Now, I'm going to discuss this a little more. And yes, I'm doing the Friday Grill. That'll be coming up next. But yeah, I'm going to talk about that a little bit more on a whole nother aspect, because I saw something else strolling and trolling. But yeah, like I said, I think that was a little orchestrated. Look at the slap. Look at the process. I think it was a production. And like I said, it was basically Will Smith and him. Hey, they're going to remember this. If they don't give me that award, he probably thought he deserved it for King Richard. And, if they slighted him, hey, I'm going to slap you. So, I mean, that's just something to think about, something to consider, because it doesn't make sense how things are going. You literally took the chance of assaulting someone, and people go to jail. I think I saw Charles Barkley talking about he done been to jail 4 times for fighting at the games. So that's assault. Of course, the Academy will do what the Academy do, but I'm going to move on into my next segment, which is about our president, Papa Joe. Papa Joe, unfortunately, Papa Joe, the black people, we mad at you, Papa Joe. I think the number was like 56% of African Americans are supporting Joe Biden. They have pulled away from Joe Biden because they are unhappy. I've went over this before. If you are voting for happiness, you are living a miserable life, because you cannot vote yourself happiness. You cannot vote in people in political offices to make you happy. They have a job. They have to do what constituents. They have to do what the lobbyists pretty much lobby them to do. They have to do what's voted in. So a lot of African American people we know voted for Joe Biden because they thought, or they believe, the whole mainstream narrative that Donald Trump, not the mainstream narrative, the urban media narrative that Donald Trump was a racist. So they believed it. And over, that was spewed into the African American community through World Star, through all of these channels that feed this one-way information to African Americans who don't watch mainstream media. And the mainstream media did not make it any better, because all they talked about was the negative, because they wanted Donald Trump out of office too for the things he had done for African Americans. You'll have to go look at that yourself, because the Black Caucus know what he did. The black colleges know what Donald Trump's administration did. The black men that are allowed to leave prison and allowed to vote because of Donald Trump know what he did. But The urban media targeted our disgust for racism in this country, and I'm going to go over that a little bit in the Friday Grill, so check that out coming up next. Now, like I said, if you are an unhappy voter and that's why you voted, you have more that you need to worry about in your life. Next time you vote, do not cast your vote off of how good I feel good today. Who you voting for? I'm voting for him because I feel good. Well, I don't feel that good, so don't do that. You know, that's it. Whoever the happiest candidate is, I told this joke before, that's who wins the election. Now, I'm going to move into my last segment, which is kind of sad. Like I said, things are getting kind of dismal out there, but there's a 22-year-old mother in Las Vegas. She attempted to murder her child. And of course, when they asked her why, she came up with this excuse. She said she thought her baby was evil. Now, of course, this is postpartum depression. If you had any kids or you have a family member that has dealt with postpartum depression, you know that is a very serious thing. And I think that's what she dealt with. It was undiagnosed, whatever the case may be. But maybe, she just didn't get the help that she needed at the time that she needed. But yeah, she attempted to kill her baby. The baby's still alive from what the article was leading to believe. So if you having any mental health issues, if you're a new mom, hey, reach out. The Friday Grill will be about mental health again, because I come back and it's like black men, mental health, this the reason. So check me out on the Friday Grill coming up next. But hey, that's all I found on my strolling and trolling on the Grill the Podcast show. Hey, once again, I am back. As long as I don't see no crap about the war on Kanye West. But hey, I'm back. I miss you guys. If you miss me, just send me a message. If you didn't, for my 5 people that listen to my episode, I love you. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And welcome to the Grill.